Hey Jessicats, so today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 7 tips for tackling exams. So stick around to find out what they are, because these tips have helped me a lot and they've also helped my friends out a lot when it comes to really acing those exams and doing your best. Also, if you're not already subscribed, then click that little subscribe button, and if you find my tips helpful, then give this video a thumbs up to show me some love. Also, I've been doing a couple of different episodes on my channel recently all about exams, because I know a lot of you guys have your exams coming up in April or May, so I hope that you find this episode helpful. And I'm also thinking of doing a how to study for exams at the last minute, so if you want to see that episode, then give it a thumbs up today and even comment below telling me that you want me to make that video, and I will try and make it for next week's episode. Alright, let's get into my top 7 tips for acing exams. So my first tip, and this mainly applies if you're sitting a maths exam, is to show your workings, because if you happen to get the answer wrong, but part of your working out was correct, then you can actually still get some marks. So if you don't end up showing your workings and you also get the answer wrong, then you wouldn't have been able to gain any marks for that question at all. Tip number 2 is to not overthink your answers. So whenever I would sit an exam, I would usually use some extra time at the end, if I completed it a little bit earlier, to go through my answers and double check what I had written in case I wanted to swap any of them. And sometimes you will find that you'll change your answer, but I wouldn't recommend going through the exam 3, 4, or 5 times if you happen to be that lucky that you finished that early, because you'll start to second guess yourself, and often your first thought was the correct one. Sometimes you do have to change the answers, or you might have made a little mistake, but I wouldn't be reading over them and second guessing yourself too much, because then you run the risk of just writing everything incorrectly because you're really overthinking the answers. Tip number 3 is to find the gold. So I think I mentioned this in a recent episode on my channel as well, but the whole idea here is to look at where you can gain the most marks. So more often than not, this will be your section B questions. And I'm not saying that you should spend all of your time on these kind of questions, but it is important to give these a real good go and try and prioritize these, if anything, because this is where you're going to end up getting most of your marks, and this is what's going to really take your grade to another level. Tip number 4 is something that I only learned in my second last year at university, so I cannot believe that they didn't teach me this in school, but it's to cover all of the potential answers of a multi-choice question before you even think about answering it. The whole idea is to read the question, brainstorm everything that you know about that particular topic in your head, or even write down a couple of different things that relate to it. And then once you've done this, you can go ahead and move that other piece of paper, or move your hand from covering the multi-choice potential answers, and see which one is best suited. The whole point about covering the potential answers is that you're not going to get caught out on their trick answers. So if you happen to know that you have thought about all these different things to do with one topic, and you see an answer that has nothing to do with anything that you just thought of, then more often than not, it is not going to be correct, because you know more about that topic than you really give yourself credit for. The next tip is to read questions carefully. So it is so important that you take a pen or a highlighter and underline or highlight key terms or words, or anything that's really going to affect how you answer that question, such as always, never, sometimes, not, or yes. Because if you don't read the question carefully, then you're probably going to get it wrong. And it's so easy to forget to do this, but at the end of the day, it's a real shame if you lose marks purely because you didn't read the question, but you actually understood the topic completely. Tip number 6 is to answer your multi-choice questions first. So they say that you should be able to answer each multi-choice question within the span of a minute, and if you have 10 minutes of reading time, then you're likely to be able to solve 10 multi-choice questions the second that you can pick up a pen and start completing your exam, which is then going to free up some extra time for you to tackle some other questions. And tip number 7 is to enter an exam with a plan of attack. So I've mentioned this before already in a previous episode, but it is so important that you know exactly how you plan on tackling your exam. So be aware of just how much time you have to answer all of your questions, and then allocate a particular amount of time for answering each section. This way, you're going to increase your chances of being able to complete the whole exam and budget your time effectively, while still being able to allocate majority of your time to the most important and significant questions that are worth the most marks as well. So comment below telling me what sort of tips you find really helpful when it comes to completing exams and tests. I love when you guys share all of your study tips. I love reading through them and getting different ideas, and then I'll always try and share them on my channel as well. And also, if you found today's episode helpful, then show me some love by giving it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, then click the little subscribe button below. And if you have any suggestions for upcoming episodes, or if you do want me to make a how to study for exams at the last minute or how to cram for exams, then also give it a thumbs up and comment below telling me. I'll try and film that for next week's episode if you really want to see it. Alright guys, have a happy and productive week and best of luck for your exams. See you guys.